Hey everyone, just making a quick video to show what I did for my project. So for this project, what I did was I trained a Performance RNN model with a bunch of MIDI files from Aphex Twin. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Aphex Twin, his music is very interesting, very dense, lots of strange and alien sounding electronic textures. Things kind of range from, really meditative, slow, ambient style stuff to, really energetic, kind of crazy, techno, things like that. Um, it kind of just runs the whole spectrum, and that's kind of why I thought it would be interesting to feed a bunch of these MIDI files into a Performance RNN and see if it could capture some of the dynamic ranges that Aphex Twin seems to have, along with, I kind of wanted to see if there was a way I could capture some of the weird time signatures, key signatures, things like that, and I wanted to see how far that I could go with Performance RNN with that stuff. So I got these MIDI files from the midm database. It's midm-database.co.uk, and they have a bunch of weird IDM techno kinds of MIDIs, things you don't really find in a lot of other places. And what I did was I took about 30 somewhat, let's see here, took about, yeah, 39 of these MIDI files. And basically what I did is I created a data set. I had to make a TF record file, and then I trained a model, a Performance RNN model with varying hyperparameters, kind of played around with that a little bit to see what I could get, what kind of generated sounds could come out of this, and how well it could read these MIDI files and make sense of kind of the general craziness there. So I tried a couple of things, and actually uh, the best sounding files were this last run I did. And so if you look up here, I have a loss per step, and it's still pretty high. It's kind of in the sixes or the high fives. And a lot of that was there. I was getting a lot of warnings with, time signatures, key signatures, and kind of mixed a lot of weird sounding MIDI alts or weird sounding songs together. So I think, yeah, the model was probably kind of difficult to train. But if you look at the perplexity here, it eventually got better over time. However, it still kind of seems to rise, never really gets steady. And, I think going forward, I could probably tweak a couple hyperparameters and get something better out of this. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the output. So what I did is I trained a bunch of these data files, or a bunch of these MIDI files into a Performance RNN model. Then I generated 10 tracks. So, or sorry, not 10 tracks. I generated 10 MIDI files. And here they are. Yeah. So I generated 10 of these MIDI files. And then what I did is I loaded these MIDI files into Ableton Live. And I kind of just randomly threw them all over here. And then I added various instruments on top of the MIDI files. So I hacked off the first half with the priming sequence, and then I just kind of let them randomly play, and I tweaked some of the parameters, and I kind of get something kind of cool out of it. I should mention, so when I actually generated all these MIDI files, what I did is instead of giving it a priming sequence, I gave it a priming MIDI file. And I tried to find the more rhythmic, easy to follow along sequence out of all these MIDI files. And I settled on the breakdown in the song Window Licker. So it's a pretty straightforward beat, nothing too crazy. So I figured that might kind of make things a little bit easier to kind of be able to hear things that are going on. So I generated 10 MIDI files, and I kind of just threw them all over. Just wanted to see randomly what happened. I applied various MIDI synths and instruments and effects just to kind of see, maybe what's possible with all this. And one thing I wanted to point out is with these MIDI files, they have, let's see if I can show this better. They have dynamics added to the MIDI notes. So there's all these MIDI notes that got generated, But down here at the bottom, there's also volume. So, you know, you can say how loud or how quiet a certain MIDI note is. And for the most part, it seems to range quite a bit here. You know, things, when there's multiple keys, you know, there's um, different volume for each key that's pressed on the piano roll. So I think that that's pretty interesting that the Performance RNN was able to train things like that. But let's go ahead and just listen to what it created. I'll just mess around with some stuff here and I'll put a more polished track up in the forums. But yeah, here's the Aphex Twin RNN generated MIDI track.